The Doomer Bloomer podcast is a community for the resurrection of good ideas. We profile the hero's journey in weekly episodes and teach people about the 10 pillars framework for success in life, business, and relationships. Our mission is to find and help all Doomer Bloomers with mental health issues, poverty mindset, lack of resources, and those left behind in this world. Tune in weekly with Will S. and occasionally John Wynn as we have deep conversations with guests about the hero's journey, clown world order, and the resurrection of good ideas. To help support our community, go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support to become a member today. And remember, we are the cure for COVID-19. And we're live. Welcome back to the Doomer Bloomer podcast with Will S. We're talking about the hero's journey, the 10 pillars framework from turning from a doomer to bloomer, health, wealth, and wisdom. And today on the podcast, we have Tom Batchelor, all the way from Chiang Mai, Thailand, originally from the UK. And he has his new single out called Lonely. How are you doing tonight, Tom?
Doing good, thanks. I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
No worries, bud. Tom and I have been chatting back and forth here on my Discord server for a couple weeks now. And his story intrigued me. You're adopted, is that correct, Tom?
That is right. Yeah, that's true.
How because we like to profile doomer bloomers on the podcast here, and how has that kind of shaped your identity, even as a rapper or a musician?
Good question. Very good question to start us off. Let's get deep. Let's dive. All right. Splash. No toes in the water. We're just going to go right in there.
It's called the Doomer Bloomer podcast, my friend.
I love it. I guess I could start off by saying my adopted parents were always super open about us being adopted, and they told us from like the time that we could hear and understand it. So my sister was like 2 and I was 4 when I really started to understand it. So I think that openness and that those truths definitely helped me to shape me as an honest person to some extent. And then as an artist, I've realized more and more as I've got older that it really has shaped me into this artist that I've become. I didn't really think it had so much connection before that. Although when I look back towards like school and stuff, it also had a big part to play then, because like, oh, he's the adopted kid. People would whisper, oh, he's the adopted kid. And it affected me on a level that I didn't even realize at the time. At first I was just like, wow, I'm no different to you lot. Like, they're my mum and dad, I don't really feel a different way about it. But as I got older and as I met my biological parents when I was 28, it started to sink in the effect that it had had. And the main effect was that it just made me really open and well-rounded and accepting of all kinds of people and perspectives, I think.
Yeah, I there's another word for that. I call it quantum becoming. Okay. Is other people's thoughts and opinions and feelings about you shape your identity at a quantum level, because you start absorbing them unconsciously, right? If someone perceives you as a grumpy person or something like that, you almost subconsciously start attributing those attributes to yourself without even realizing it. And so just tell me a little bit more about your hero's journey. So you're now in Chiang Mai, but like, how did you go from, like, I'm just looking at your form here. You said you started about 12 years ago, 2009, moved to China to be an English teacher, and then 2 years after that became a musician, and then you've been, 7 years or so living in China, and now you're in Thailand.
Yeah. So after graduating from computer games design university, I was a gamer for the first 23 years of my life, basically, very much into computer games. So I decided, why not study computer games at university? Tried the programming, wasn't really for me. Changed to the design side. Um, in the last couple of years, there was modules like music for games, and that really put me back onto music production and using music software to produce music. And I was in bands at this stage. So by the time I finished university, I'd lost interest in wanting to work in an office designing games. I just wanted to become a musician. So in Manchester, I was pushing to try and create a band and get out there on the scene. And my best mate from China, he was in China. He'd moved to China and set up a business and said, "Oh yeah, Tom, I've set up the business now. The school's ready to go. I need some teachers. Do you want to come over and be like one of the main teachers?" And I was like, "How can I? I'm not even a teacher, and you're asking me to come and be a head teacher with you. Like that's a lot to ask." And he was like, "I fully trust you, man. Come over if you want. It'll be a great experience. A new culture." So I went over, and yeah, I didn't know anything about China. It was what's the right word? Just like drop in the ocean sort of thing.
Culture shock.
Complete culture shock. Culture shock. Like landed in Shanghai and just looked at after like flying over Shanghai, as we're landing, I'm just like, whoa, this place looks insane, like vast. And after landing in Shanghai, you look up at the skyscrapers and you feel a bit like it's daunting. Like they're going to fall on me. Like they're so high up. And yeah, like I just embraced it for the first 2 years, and it was just an incredibly humbling and mind blowing experience. And then after those 2 years, found my way into all these opportunities to make quite good money playing at like commercial car shows, weddings, hotel functions, kind of the commercial gig events type things. And so I just decided to push that as hard as possible to create the vacuum so I could do the hip hop band and do my original music off the back of these opportunities that were presenting themselves. So I gave up teaching after 2 years and just went fully into being an event manager, musician, hip hop artist, basically for 7 years. Yeah, I'll stop saying stuff now. Does that answer the question?
It gives me a good background into where you're at. So 7 years in China. So how did you end up migrating from China to Chiang Mai then?
Have I not told you this story? This is a mad, wild hip hop style story. In 2018, China decided that enough was enough with certain substances, and they basically had a cleanup. Became a bit of an exodus, really.
Okay.
Yeah, I got caught in the storm, and well, to put it long story short, police turned up at my house, piss tested me. I had THC there. Arrested, 3 weeks detention, 5-year ban. Boom. That's what you get for 7 years of illegal music working in China. That's pure karma. That. Put it this way though, a lot of people also got arrested and kicked out too. I was actually quite lucky to. I thought I was getting away with it, and after a few weeks, after all my friends had been through the system, they turned up and said, "Yeah, someone gave you names, so it's your turn now, buddy. Let's go." I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well. I mean, it's just glad that you're not weren't longer in Chinese jail.
To be honest, yeah, I was worried about that too because I was right close to the action. It's a bit mad, really. I've got a couple of friends that are still there, arrested, awaiting trial because they were deeper into it, and it's hard for me to write songs about those situations yet because they're not safe at the moment. And if anyone heard any of the stories that I have, it might cause friction or extra danger to those people that we need to get out safely. So I'm not ready to share too much about their side of it, but there's some crazy stories, man. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure that there are. So your latest single, "Lonely," what was your inspiration for that?
It's connected with China, funnily enough. After getting to Chiang Mai, which I didn't really answer the question, how did I get here? But getting deported from China and going back to the UK for 5 months. After a few months back in the UK, the guy from Chiang Mai, this boss of a company, he reached out, and I'd applied to the job 5 months prior when I was still in China, and he was like, "Oh, are you still open to this job in Chiang Mai?" And I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. But you're going to have to wait for me now because all my stuff's being shipped back from China. So long story short, got my stuff from China and then emigrated over here. Got my dog from China, which was a bit of a mission. And then started to just get my own space again. I lived by myself with my dog. I didn't have any housemates anymore because in China I was always with different housemates, whether it was bandmates or random people moving in. I decided I need some space. I need to get lonely. I need to get my solitude. I need to, I saw Chiang Mai as a pilgrimage type thing. Time to look after myself and be happy by myself. So about a year into it, met this guy on WeChat, which is the Chinese WhatsApp, and he's maybe 10 or 15 years younger than me, and he's a rapper singer from Africa that lives in China as an English teacher, around the same age that I was an English teacher in China. We met in this music group from based off another musician that I met in China. So we met each other and then started talking, and we just things just clicked right away. And listened to his hip hop music, really enjoyed his music. He released an EP a year ago or so, and "Lonely" was on it. And I was like, yo, man, I really resonate with "Lonely" the most here. Like, if you ever want to do a remix of that song, count me in. And he was like, instantly, yeah, man, like, I'd love to do a collaboration on that song with you. So 6 months ago, I recorded my verses in my old house, really bad acoustics, lots of reverb. And then 5 months later, about 6 weeks ago, he recorded his vocals, and I was really impressed with his lyrics and how he put it together. I didn't really mind that it took so long, to get to this stage. I really believe that everything has its right time, and you can't force things. So he was like really apologetic, but I was like, no, honestly, man, like I know what he was going through, and like what you give to me is like golden. It's worth waiting for. It's really worth waiting for. So that's how it came about, really, just by meeting this guy online. We both loved hip hop. We seemed to align. It seemed like we'd been through the same things, even though he was going through them. So that we had a lot in common, And he spoke to me when he was singing his original song, "Lonely," and it made me want to write really deeper about loneliness, which then brought up the adoption stuff and other avenues of topics. Yeah, so that's how it came about.
Well, it's funny you should mention the solitude thing. I call that monk mode.
I love that.
It's well, I got it from the red pill community, but I apply it to lots of different things. I've gone through because with the doomerism, right? You go through different cycles. I call it the doomer bloomer cycle, and you cycle down and then you cycle back up. But sometimes, even in the darkest cycles, there's a lot of creativity there which can be tapped into. Lots of people don't like to confront their shadow or their darker emotions. But if you start embracing them, you can actually reach even better heights on the next up cycle.
Absolutely agree, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Like
100% agree.
you took a bad situation from China, right? Getting deported, and then you bounce back, and now you're in Chiang Mai, and you're creating again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking that space for yourself it's always a good thing. And then I love how you're talking about, just waiting for your friend to spin those lyrics for 6 months. Uh, that, the Tao Te Ching says everything in its time and the time for everything. So you're forcing things often is not a good strategy. So I kind of, the analogy I like to use is being a rock in the stream, where the stream of life is flowing past you and through you. And if you're just anchoring yourself in the Tao, the Tao Te Ching, which is known as the Way, it, life is coming at you, and you're just kind of a net catching the things that you need to accomplish as you're sitting there in the stream, right? Whatever that may be. But that's just kind of been my philosophy. Like for the last 5 years, I kind of got deep into Taoism in 2017 when I was going through my darker doomer depression phase. And I read the book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you've read that or not.
Not read it, but I have seen it some places. Yeah, mentioned somewhere.
But it's in my recommended reading list for the Doomer Bloomer group that I have on my Discord server.
Nice one.
Which Tom is a part of.
Yeah, I definitely recommend joining. It's got a lot of good resources in there.
Yeah, and so we're you're in Chiang Mai now. In terms of your career, what had you wished you known now when you when you began your career, and what would you like to share with our audience about that?
I have no regrets. I really have no regrets. But if I look back, I'd go even harder and make way less excuses, and I'd learn emotional intelligence sooner than I did, because I was an emotional train wreck since I was about 5.
Most of us are.
Still not changed.
To be honest.
Yeah, that EQ, even just like reading. Oh, there's not just IQ, there's EQ. I thought EQ was something about mixing with music and sound, and just knowing that about that EQ just set some alignment in my mind that I can't even begin to express now. But because I'd already started getting a bit more emotionally intelligent from doing business in China and like in another language, you start to you can't be emotional in those situations, or you just create absolute trauma for everybody, including yourself and your own people and the other people, and then the clients of those people, and then the customers of those clients. It's just like you have to really get mature quickly. So at 25, like I made so many mistakes in these formal gig environments. I just saw the explosions. So I quickly got a bit more emotionally mature, but still at like 30, when I was in the peak of success with the band, that I had a 6-person hip hop band at that time. We're doing festivals and tours. In the height of that, I lost my head because of the sensitivity of situations, and that pushed people away. Ultimately, I think they would have left anyway because they had their own life paths, and they were full-time teachers. The fact that they could tour with me and do these festivals was like a real like gift from them to me and to themselves. But like they gave a lot to me, so I never had any remorse or negativity towards them. But I was so serious, myself and the bassist especially, we were so serious about making it in China that we pushed the others very hard. And sometimes when it didn't align, it would be really frustrating. So things would happen. Conflict would occur, and it didn't have to. But I don't know. At the same time, like we all respect each other so much. We didn't disrespect each other, but just this unnecessary conflict. I don't know if it was unnecessary. Conflict's important to resolve things, but do you see where I'm going? I would have handled things a bit more emotionally more calming way, rather than letting my emotions and passion make things fire up.
Yeah, well, that comes with the benefit of experience too, right?
Right.
The four virtues of Stoicism have been very helpful for me too. And that's wisdom, courage, and specifically self control.
Mm.
And then the fourth one is justice.
Mm.
But mastering self control is probably the hardest for most people, because uh, most people grow up in families or environments that don't preach self control, or there is no discipline, there is no boundaries, or or it's a very dysfunctional family, and it's just completely chaos all the time, right? Um, so the self control element, right, like is it could also be tied to discipline, right? Discipline is a form of self control in a sense, right? Waking up at the same time every day, eating the same food every day, um, and also knowing how to regulate your emotions,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and like you said, not blowing up on people, which I'm have been definitely guilty of, and working on that, right? I find it's worse with my close family sometimes because you're so comfortable, um, but I could definitely see how in a band situation it could definitely get out of control. Um, like you kind of alluded to substances, so I don't know if that was a factor at play, but I know that for myself that sobriety was the best thing for me in the long term, right? So as soon as I became sober, a lot of my interpersonal relationships got that much better because there was that variable X that wasn't there anymore. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I quit alcohol 4.5 years ago, and that was after all these band, um, important band times, very like height of the band's uh, success. I don't like to say success, but when we had the most things going on, when we were active, very active, I guess that's the best way to say it. So I don't think I quit because of that, but I never liked alcohol and smoking when I was younger. I was always like telling my parents and friends' parents, "Why are you doing that? We shouldn't be doing that." Then I got into it and I enjoyed it. But I always said at 30 I will stop smoking and drinking. And eventually at 31 I stopped drinking, and I haven't had any problems with wanting it back. Smoking's taken a lot longer, but I've been 6 weeks clean from that recently. Just now I'm 6 weeks into that. So I am fighting towards this sobriety. Not fighting, but I am trying towards this.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that I call that part of the doomer spectrum. Most doomers have an addiction to something, whether that's nicotine, caffeine, alcohol. If on the other end of things, some people are addicted to even harder drugs, harder substances. But most people have an addiction to caffeine, nicotine, or alcohol, just because it's easy to get. And now even like I don't know what it's like in Chiang Mai, but like in Canada, cannabis is fully legalized here.
Right.
You can go to the corner or the corner store or the government, or you can have it shipped directly to your house. Um, so
It's the same here, basically. They have Food Panda, which is for food delivery, and then Hot Panda.
yeah, well, it makes. I mean, it's greasing somebody's palm there in the government coffer. So, I
Yeah.
guess I guess it's not such a bad thing, but from a human perspective, uh, I'm not against drugs like that,
Same.
this, but you have to understand it's all very individualistic,
Mm.
and you have to understand that it's not the drug, it's how you use it and what you bring to the experience. So if you're already bringing a lot of crap from your life, like mental crap or physical crap, uh, any of these things are just going to enhance what's already there. Whether that be alcohol, cannabis, you know, things like that. Like myself personally, I can't do THC at all
This
because
is yeah.
it really affects my well-being and my nervous system. So I just avoid it completely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't really affect me that bad on the nervous side of things, the nervous system side of things, but in general, it holds me back. It holds my productivity back. It holds my mind back. After a few weeks off it, like people just see supersonic, cheat code Sonic, yellow Sonic Tom. It's like, oh shit, what's Tom doing? Yeah, Tom don't have THC inside his system right now. And of course, like after 5 weeks, there's a barrier, and it's like boom. But then after 5 weeks now, 6 weeks, I'm feeling great again. I've got so much energy. It's hard to sleep longer than 5 hours. And if I'm disciplined, then the productivity is allowed to flourish. So people keep asking me, "Oh, you still managed to quit smoking? Why don't you try and eat some THC?" I'm like, no. I'm not trying to quit smoking. It's THC and smoking. It's both, because the THC is the issue for me. No matter how much I love it or endorse it or think it's a great drug, it's just it's time for me to at least take a long break, and then when I'm 70, I'm good. But
Yeah, at 70, you just do whatever you want. Who cares?
yeah. Hopefully, we'll be in a position to be like that. Yeah.
Have you considered doing microdosing a psilocybin?
It's funny you say that. So my whole goal of getting sober, I cut everything, right? All kinds of substances, including weed. I was like, I'm just not going to take anything. And then my friend was like, well, what about mushrooms? I was like, yeah, that doesn't count. So over the past 6 weeks, I've done mushrooms twice, and then I did it kind of microdosing another time. So I'm really into mushrooms at the minute. I'm not doing it too much, but I'm allowing those in. That's the only thing I'm allowing in. And this microdosing thing is becoming very tempting with creating music. Yes.
Well, I mean, at least in Canada here, like it's going to be fully like there's already compassion clubs for psilocybin,
Mm.
and they're already seeing a lot of uh, positive effects through the John Hopkins study for depression. Uh, I personally use mushrooms or psilocybin to regulate my depression.
Okay.
Um, just because, I've talked about this before, but I was diagnosed with bipolar last year. So, in concert with my regular medication, uh, it's really helped me stay level
Mm.
without being numb. Like all the other SSRIs, they make me numb, and they dumb down my creativity. So
Word.
I just have to kind of regulate myself in a
Mm.
sense. And also I meditate. It's another
Yes.
more of a Taoist practice. Um, you know,
I'm very much
just
into that. Yeah. I totally agree.
so.
I'm really pleased to hear that the psilocybin has really helped you to regulate that. That's great news, man.
Well, I better place than I was last winter for sure.
Mm.
I'm gonna definitely, and I'm just gonna like preface this with the fact that psychedelics aren't for everyone.
Right.
And as I alluded to earlier, like what you bring to the experience is what you're going to get out of the experience as well.
Absolutely.
Right? If you have a lot of crap and you don't want to deal with that crap, then mushrooms or these substances can kick you right in the nuts, metaphysically and literally, yeah, it can literally mentally and metaphysically kick you right in the nuts.
Absolutely
Um,
agree.
you have to be able. The biggest thing is you have to be able to let go. if you're able to let go and surrender to the experience and not fight it, whether it's a challenging trip or what have you, and if you're willing to confront that shadow or the darker side of things, I call that, it's called integration. If you're able to integrate, then you're going to come out a stronger person. If you're going to fight it the whole time, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, absolutely agree. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a big question. What is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
I think, did I answer this on the forum? Because I forgot what I put on the forum if I did.
You said dreaming too small as a musician, not planning to far enough ahead to manifest the next steps.
So that all comes from a specific experience. When I was standing on the stage at the MIDI festival, probably the biggest, most professional performance of my life, I was just rocking my ass off on the stage, and I realized, like, halfway through the set, what's next? I haven't really planned this far ahead. This was my goal, to get a festival performance. Then I was like, okay. And things did seem to like fizzle away a bit after that. Dips and troughs. I mean, peaks and troughs. So like my idol is my hero, and my idol is a very famous musician from our generation, and he's gone now. But his heights, he didn't even like really put himself there. But once he had the platform, he achieved wonders and inspired all of our generation, most of the musicians and artists in music that we know. So I always had big dreams, but I feel like I limited myself because it's almost like I was just, it's hard to explain this. I kind of accepted how it was in China and just tried to like mold myself into the Chinese way of life, and tried to become this like English rapper, rapping in Chinese. My goal was to be like the first Western Chinese rapper, and that became my goal. But that was never my goal. My goal was international. So I started to limit myself. And because of the place I was in, my environment started to shape me rather than allowing me to shape the world or something like that.
Well, I like I alluded to earlier, it's called the quantum becoming. Your environment subconsciously starts to imprint upon you. It takes a very strong like core being to understand who you are, I think. And it takes years to develop that. Like for me personally, it's taken 10 years from the age of 21 to 31, right? To understand my core being and understand what I am about, and what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate. And the other Rich Cooper calls it making a dent in the universe. If you're on your purpose, whatever that is, if you're making a dent in the universe, it doesn't really matter what other people think, right? It on a day-to-day basis, right? I don't know how you feel about that, or how you view it. But I also I like to follow Joe Rogan, and he says it doesn't matter what age you are, 21, 31, 41, 51, 61, doesn't matter. You're starting where you're starting. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you have that base of knowledge to where you're at now, and it's your duty to progress or move on from where you're at right now, not necessarily dwell on the fact that, well, I didn't achieve this. I didn't achieve this by 30. I didn't achieve this by 41. I didn't achieve. Who cares if you didn't achieve it then? What are you doing right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. Lots to say. Not sure which one to say.
Jump in on whatever one you feel comfortable with.
That's the failure that I wrote down in the form. But I think another failure, another maybe a bigger failure, is I always believe in communication being the biggest tool, the strongest tool in the arsenal. Yet maybe I could have communicated better, and therefore, even with myself, you know what I mean? Not even just with others. Like, I feel like I spent a lot of my youth giving my energy to other people or giving it to other entities, including my life in China and my business in China. I just kind of gave away a lot of energy. And then when I got kicked out, I was like doing a lot of meditation and realizing I need to protect this energy now, because that's why I've not been writing original music for a few years. I've just been putting it all into these other facets, trying to generate income. And then all of the wealth that I had what do you call it, accumulated basically got wiped out. So I ended up with nothing anyway, apart from nothing of financial, speaking about financial things. But I had so much experience. I had so many great memories. I have so much great experience and memories that I don't feel poor. I feel really rich in other ways. But yeah, maybe not taking care of myself is the biggest failure, because of giving myself away, being a bit too um, lackadaisical, with my health or with my mind, and allowing, and it was all my own decision. So I'm not blaming anybody, but I really did just open the door. And like, even now when I come home, me and my friend moved into this house here, and we used to leave the gate open all day. And then we started like getting really deep and philosophical, and we're like, okay, we're even gonna like shut the gate every time we come in, because we're just letting any energy in this wide open gate. It's like, let's close the gate, let's close the doors, and let's just maintain this energy whilst it's in our space, and then now and again you can try and let some energy in, and if it flows, it flows. If it doesn't, you have to be really careful what energy you let in. This is a big thing this year. It's all about energy.
Well, I agree with you. Many I am like like I consider myself empathic, borderline empathic, and I can sense energies, man. I can sense them through the phone. I can sense them. I can sense energy long distance, and like I've made a point even on the podcast, man. There's certain people, like if I get a vibe from their messages or what I see from their social or whatever, like I'm trying to build a community, right?
Mm.
And if you're not willing to join the Discord server or not willing to engage in the community, if you're just trying to get what you can get for yourself and not contribute back, I personally don't want to have you here. And that's just my boundary. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's good boundaries to have. I appreciate
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
and fortunately for Tom, he's a giver. He's given energy, and we float energy back and forth, and we're that's kind of why we're here. Yeah, so fist bump through the computer, and the other thing I was going to ask you is, do you have a gratitude journal or a daily gratitude practice?
I've done that, and whenever I do that, I see amazing results. I guess this is another failure. No matter how much I learn about this stuff or meditation, I still can't get supremely disciplined with it, even though I know how much it can benefit me. So sometimes I feel like I'm out to get myself, because I really know I should meditate 30 minutes a day, and I should journal, and I should
Wow.
do all these mindful things. And sometimes it's not even about laziness. It's like I purposely don't do it or something to hurt myself. I don't get it.
Well, that comes back to discipline and self control. Like I
Yeah.
schedule it in. I schedule it in, and don't make it 30 minutes. Make it 7 minutes. Like 30 minutes is daunting for most people.
Mm.
7 minutes is not daunting. Like
Yeah,
you could do a 7 minute meditation and feel pretty good about yourself.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Even if I just did 7, but I find after 20 minutes, I really get into it. I
hmm,
start feeling the benefits after 20 minutes. If I can focus, it can't always be so deep, but if I get deep. But you're right, I should even just try 7 minutes. And if I only do 7 minutes, then, it's, yeah.
7 minutes is well, because I follow the 80-20 rule, right? You're
Oh, yeah.
20% of your efforts are getting 80% of your results, right? So you might as well do the minimum effective dose and get the daily benefits rather than feeling guilty for not doing the full 30 minutes.
Yeah. And the gratitude, I have a friend on Instagram. She always asks, what's 3 things she's grateful for, and what's 3 things she loves about herself, and then she um, implores her following to do the same for ourselves. And it's really great, and it's really nice to see her positive energy most days on Instagram. And even after China, I was in a WeChat group, and after my exit from China, they were doing these gratitude things every day. You have to post in the group, and I literally wrote them down. I've got them on my phone still, and I even read them out to my mum. And like my mum was like really happy to hear how grateful I was. And she was part of some of the entries, and it was just overall it was a very positive experience, and uh, definitely very mindful, and mind shaping.
Did you wish your mom a happy Mother's Day? It's Mother's Day today.
It's not Mother's Day in the UK,
When is
but
Mother Day in the UK?
I don't even remember that. It was previously. It's like
Oh,
March or something. But I usually send my mum Happy Mother's Day the on the on the America's Mother's Day, and she's like, "It's not Mother's Day." I'm like, "Yeah, but still, mum, like, still Happy Mother's Day. I love you that much that I'll happy birthday you on the Thai Mother's Day, the Chinese Mother's Day, and those." But
she
yeah,
gets she gets 3 Mother's Day.
yeah. Although she didn't today, so shh.
We'll keep that secret, bud.
I'll be messaging them, both my mums after this. Happy Mother's Day. They'll be like, "What are you talking about? It's not Mother's Day like it is in America."
Oh, exactly.
But why did you mention
Uh,
the gratitude journal thing? You think I should
why?
definitely?
Well, I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, doomers or bloomers alike, man. Um, just because if you're not grateful for what you already have, then how are you ever going to be grateful for the things that you accomplish?
Oh
Right?
man. I don't even need a journal. That's what I think. Though I don't even need a journal. Every day of my life is a gratitude like
Practice.
waterfall. like
Mm.
I'm so it's ridiculous, man. It's getting to the point I don't even get it. I'm grateful for like the smallest things. It's just mad things. Like when the kettle, when you boil the kettle and the hot mist comes out the top. I'm grateful for that because I put my face over it and it gives me a bit of moisture. losing it,
Nice.
losing it in my old age. Nah, I'm only kidding. Like, gratitude has really cured my depression. I think I say that. I don't know if I've said that recently, but I feel like gratitude was my cure to any negative emotions and my depression when I was younger. Gratitude is just like I could get a little bit sad and depression tries to take over, but then when I realize how grateful I am, it just clears it.
Well, like I said, I recommend it to everybody. It's part of my 10 pillars framework that I'm putting together, slowly but surely.
Nice.
uh, you put I like this one. Who are the 3 people who are the most influential to you?
I don't know what I put on that either. For God's
Well,
sake. No.
you put
Michael
Michael
Jackson.
you put Michael Jackson, Robin Williams, which I also resonate with, and also Dwayne the Rock Johnson, which I
It's mad that I
also
chose
resonate.
famous people, isn't it? To be honest, because I thought for some reason I would probably change that now. When that question gets asked, I always resonate towards famous people because I guess I'm trying to express how I became so passionate in wanting to do music or in my being of a human. But I cannot deny the influence that my mother had and my father had, my adopted parents, I mean. They were hugely influential, as well as were my friends and my sister and my friends growing up. Like, they were all a huge part of it. But when I think about Michael Jackson and Robin Williams and Dwayne Johnson, they really made me believe. They really gave me a different kind of energy, which allowed me to sharpen my skills and have the audacity to think I could be a rapper or an actor or a wrestler. I wanted to be a wrestler at one point. Um, and Robin Williams, oh man, I was so happy to watch that documentary that his wife made, which explained the whole thing behind his deterioration. And when I realized that his suicide wasn't based on just depression, it was coming from a degenerative brain disease, I was somewhat relieved, because I didn't get it. And, he was a shining light to well, I don't know about billions, but multi-millions of people. Yeah.
Well, I felt like my uncle died.
Right.
That's
Right.
pretty much how I felt, to be
Sure.
honest.
When Michael Jackson died, man, I was like, "You're joking, people. You're all taking the piss out of me, because like that's what you always do when something happens with Michael Jackson." And when I realized it was true, I was crying for a few days and just listening to his music, because that guy, I cannot even express how much of a influence he had on me and my music, and just my my desire to be a humanitarian, or like just to try and give positive energy into the world, really. But what's the question about those three?
How have they how have they influenced you?
Well, yeah,
Like shaped your worldview, made you a better person.
yeah, they made me confident. They made me able to believe that anything is possible, and that you could be a good person, and you can, try to be at the top of the ladder, even though also they taught me how difficult that is, and that maybe that isn't the best place to be. They I'm not saying they've held me back, or they've made me hold back, but it's kind of daunting to think of that level of success, because I think Dwayne Johnson handles it well, though, to be honest. I think the other two had different issues that then uh, not impacted, that contributed to their downfall in the end. But Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, wow, he handles himself very well. I think he's got the right support structure around him. I think he's always had the right support structures around him, whereas the other two, maybe not as strong, the foundations. Yeah.
Well, I think it comes in the name. He is the Rock. You know what I mean? Like, he does seem like a very humble guy. Like
Mhm.
in general, like he does a lot for like charity, and he doesn't seem to flaunt what he has. Like a lot of people that I see with that same level of success are like flaunting what they have, but he comes at it with such like, it seems to me more of like a way more humble sort
Mm.
of place of being, right? And it comes across, I think, it when he speaks to people, or even like does little videos on Instagram or what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I really love that guy. I really appreciate him. I love them all. I appreciate people like this. I really appreciate people like that, because it's funny, because if you see The Rock when he came into wrestling, he was told to be the bad guy, right? He's told to be the cocky, you know, before he became the people's champ, he was like this cocky, arrogant, and he probably didn't want to do that, because that's not him, but he played it so well. So he earned his spot at the top. He really did. Just like Robin, just like Michael. Um, but yeah, there's a lot more I could say, but I'll just add the trauma that, especially the two that are gone, Michael and Robin, the trauma that they faced and went through, even that was inspiring. That's helped me to feel a bit more strong, because I didn't go through that much trauma. I went through my own little bits of trauma, but seeing the way they handled it, along with the success, along with whatever else they were going through, and then seeing them smile on their videos or their movies, it's just that spirit, man. That spirit is very inspiring, and I'm very grateful for those people and what they did for everyone and me.
It's awesome. All right. I don't know. This question, which is, I like this question. But if you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I already did not?
And again, I can't remember what I put on form.
You,
God,
you,
it's late over here.
you said, what is the meaning of life to you?
That's such a generic response, Tom. What else would I say? I'd probably say, can you ask me the question again, please?
What is the meaning of life to you?
Oh, are we doing that? I meant your question before that.
What have I already? What if you could step into my shoes? What would you have asked yourself that I already did not?
Why have you been away so long? Why have you been able to be away so long? Like, is something holding you back from going to England?
Is there something holding you back from going to England?
Well, I mean, literally the pandemic at the moment, but
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
maybe
Your
the
mom,
weather.
the weather.
Maybe the climate. Yeah, I'm not so keen about living in that climate. And then also just really feel like I need the space. Like, I really love my family deeply, so it's not them. Like, it's not my family pushing me away. I really, really miss them dearly. That's a problem, you know. I'm even thinking about maybe moving to Europe just to get closer to England, but I just really don't feel like I should be in England. I can't even answer it. It's a weird one because I love England and I'm happy when I'm in England. I just can't seem to settle there for some reason. I think I'm still exploring. I still feel young. I still feel like there's a lot to learn spiritually and mentally. And so I like my space, and I really like what Asia has so far given me and what it offers me till this day. You know, just multitude of different kinds of people from different backgrounds, all pushing for their own dreams or businesses or stuff like that. I guess it's inspiring rather than being back home and seeing the general structure of things and the family life. Even though that is inspiring in other ways, I'm not ready for that yet. Do you know what I mean? Even though I want that, but if we talk about the meaning of life, it's hard for me to just couple up and get comfortable in a box with the nuclear family. You know, I don't think the meaning of life is to just create that and to take care of my box and to take care of my corner. Although I have a lot of respect and admiration for that, because that is a beautiful thing and it's not an easy thing to do, to raise children and to keep all your family safe and flourishing. But I just have a lot more desires to do more than that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I mean, there's a song called "Little Boxes." I don't know if you've heard it.
Who's
Uh,
that?
oh shoot, I'd have to look it up. But
Okay, sorry.
let me just look it up real quick here. It's called Little Boxes, and it describes basically suburbia and what it's like to just to just kind of, for lack of a better, yeah, it's called, well, Walk Off the Earth does a version of it, but
Nice, I love them.
but yeah, I don't know. I'll link it in the description.
Cheers. Yeah, I'll check it out.
um, but we're we're kind of cruising here, um, and is this? I don't know. I always like to ask this question, and it helps me gauge where kind of people are at. But how can you be of service to your community and the world? And then I like to quote verse 17 of the Tao Te Ching. It's my favorite verse. But how do you like interpretation wise, like how would you characterize being of service in your own words?
By being a good person, treating others with respect and with intention, and if um, and as well as that, on a personal level, like speaking my truth based on experience, if I have the experience, and not trying to speak truths on things that I'm not aware of or not experienced about.
Right.
So if I write songs, I would love to write songs like about um, world issues or current issues, and I'll only speak on what I know or what I feel. I won't start making up facts, although in order to, it's like wanting to inspire change or nudge change in the right direction. So if I ever get a platform with my music, I will try and be of service that way. And then hopefully, if there's any creation of wealth, by sharing that wealth to contribute to the situations that I'm trying to nudge towards change. So, and do a small percentage of what Michael Jackson was doing. That's how I hope to be of service. But I think it more basic, not basic, but more grounded than that is what I first said. Just being a good person and treating other people kindly, and understanding that everyone's important and also none of us are important. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the Taoist way of looking at it.
Is it? I told you I
Yeah,
like all this stuff.
we're all nothing and everything at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right. And the Tao Te Ching says it very eloquently, right? Like it doesn't choose favorites. In its eye, in its eyes, everyone is the same, and at the same time, they're nothing. So they just are, and they aren't. So
yeah, and I think that's a different answer than what I put on the forum as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what free form podcasts are about. They're not about sticking to the script.
Freestyle.
Would you be willing to do a little rap for us right now, or is that too much, like, on the spot?
No, I mean, what, a freestyle?
Do you freestyle?
Yeah, I just left a band, collective that I was in called Fly By Pants. Shout out to Fly By Pants. They've kindly kept the door open in case I want to go back. They're a freestyle live band, all on the spot, improvised guitars, drums, bass, and DJ, and then a couple of freestyle rappers, and we had a vocal singer before, female vocalist. But so yeah, I've very much been into that. I would prefer not to do a freestyle, although I could if you really want.
No pressure here, but I'm just seeing how far I can push you.
I'll do the second verse of my new song Pure, because it might align with what I'm talking about now, with what we've been talking about. I don't know why I need the lyrics really, but just in case, I'll give you both verses, right? Put here for a reason. I used to say a mistake. I understand it's deeper than this, thanks to God's ways. This DNA so strong, it keeps us ticking along and awake. This energy's no enemy, my enemy awaits. In the past, I've been isolated in panic, yeah, even before the pandemic. After the plans that I planted, all of the gifts I was granted, I was just manic. Even when living in Manny, all of the people I managed, how did I manage? Living and working, exerting the energy, taking the damage. I love you all and I felt you all. I never tried to abuse. I found you all and I left you all, and I never intend to excuse. This movie documents my life, but the plot's not so smooth. This may be directed by me, but I promise it's not directed at you. Pure, I don't wanna lie. I start singing, pure, I don't want to die. And then it repeats itself for a while. And the second verse, which is the one I wanted to show you, is when I was young, I would cycle. I would be reading the Bible. I wasn't playing with rifles. I guess back then I was mindful. Adopted and blessed on arrival. From oldham to grasp me a riddle. Had so much passion from dancing with Michael. That's why the king is my idol. Then constant obstruction. All this corruption. Stressed we cannot function. Car crash, concussion. Take the wheel and drive away. Your freedom awaits. Just know that when you raise the stakes, there may be sharks and snakes. So yeah, that's the new song.
Boom. Nice. I love it. Well, thanks for that. It made my day.
Cheers, man.
So I have 2 questions left for you. And so the first one is the bonus question. And that is, what is your zombie plan?
I love that question. That's a great question.
Zombies attack Chiang Mai. What do you do? Go.
Oh, I have a vivid imagination. I'd be like trying to create some kind of weapons to start off with. Out of what though? I have fans. I don't have anything else. Use the fan to blow the zombies away. I don't think that's going to work. We need like 7 fans in a line. I guess I've got these objects up here on the shelf that I could use to knock them out. But I would.
You want me to read you? You want me to read you what you wrote here?
Yeah.
He said, "Treehouse life with flying machine to get me around to get food and resources."
You can tell that's 4 weeks into sobriety. That's rubbish. That's not even like possible, is it? With flying machine.
Well, I mean, they're working on it. The new Teslas can hover.
Oh, nice. I would need a drone at this point, wouldn't I, to go and get the stuff? Like, I wouldn't be able to be in the drone, but I think I'd gather my closest wolf pack. We've got this group of friends called the Wolf Pack, so I'd get the Wolf Pack here at my lovely converted Airbnb that we got a huge discount on. We've got like a swimming pool and gated in a private community. So the guards who govern the community, they wouldn't let the zombies in for a start because then they'd lose their salary. So they'd be kind of like the first wave of defense, the first line of defense. And then we've got like all the other houses that lead to Soi 9, which is the 9th Street. So we've got like a good first few lines of defense over there with all the Thai locals like knocking out the zombies. So we can all be here like strategizing, trying to build like something on top of the pool house out there. And then making weapons and digging an underground den so that if they do manage to infiltrate the premises, that we can get somewhere safe and dig out somewhere else. I guess that's the best answer I can give you.
It sounds like Shaun of the Dead Chiang Mai edition.
I love that movie.
I'm gonna go hang out at the Winchester, drink pints.
Yeah. I come from a place called Lancashire. Some of the pub's names are hilarious.
All right. Well, any closing thoughts, and then we'll plug your all your socials and go from there.
Cool. Yeah, it's been really, really good talking to you, man. As I said before we started recording, I feel like these things have been cropping up in my life more and more, even after living in China for 9 years, like with Taoism and philosophical thoughts. So I've always wanted to get closer to it. So you've helped me to dive in a bit deeper. I appreciate your insight. You've taught me some things. You've introduced me to other things. It's been really great to be here. Thanks for letting me express myself. That's really appreciated. I think we all need to express ourselves. I think that's the most important thing. To be honest with ourselves, we have to express ourselves and express that to other people. So I guess I'll just end with that. Yeah, just speak your truth, keep your best family and friends close and share things with each other and express yourselves and love each other. Tell each other you love each other as well. That's important too. Yeah.
Especially on Mother's Day.
Especially, exactly. Happy Mother's Day to your mum as well.
Thank you. Where can people get a hold of you, social media wise or online wise?
My handle is Energy and Music, ENERGANDMUSIC. On Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now.
And where can they find you on Spotify?
Tom Batchelor. So that's my name and my artist name. It's Batchelor with a T. So it's Tom, BATCHELOR.
All right. I'll put that link in the description for everybody. All right. Thank you, Tom. This has been Will S. with the Doomer Bloomer podcast. And as always, we're at the Doomer podcast on Twitter, Doomer Bloomers on Instagram and Facebook. We don't have TikTok. Sorry. Yeah, join our Discord group server. And we also have our Patreon, which has some special subscriber perks outside of the regular channels, namely some merchandise.
Check it out. Seriously.
And have yourself a great and prosperous day wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, night, or midday. And have a great day. Peace.
Peace.
Hi there, this is Will with the Doomer Bloomer podcast. If you enjoyed this content with Tom Batchelor today, please go to his Spotify page, Tom Batchelor, and also follow him on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Energy and Music. And if you are a long-term listener to the show, Doomer Bloomer podcast, please consider becoming a member. Go to www.thedoomerbloomerpodcast.com/support. We have a Patreon page there. We have a PayPal and also a GoFundMe link. Or if you're feeling extremely generous, buy me a coffee. Alexa level subscribers will be shipped their own Alexa smart speaker. Alexa doesn't know that one. In essence, I love each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and have yourself a great and prosperous day wherever you are. Peace. Oh, also, retweet this as #SoLonely. Peace.